Welcome to Behind the Scenes at the Hanover Theatre. Now, here's your host, Lisa Condit.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I am so happy to be here in the studio with Brian O'Donovan. To start this program off was a live recording from last year's St. Patrick's Day Celtic Sojourn. That was a performance by this fabulous band, Willa. And we cannot wait for Brian and his whole team of Celtic passion and song and dance and culture to come to the Hanover Theatre, and that's this Friday at 7:30. Welcome, Brian.
Great to be with you, Lisa. It's wonderful. Is spring in the air in Worcester yet?
Oh, this weekend, I think what I heard is maybe the last of the Arctic freezes behind us. That's what we're hoping. And there's nothing like a Celtic sojourn to lift our spirits. It's, if you've ever been to Ireland, you know how cold and kind of wet it can feel. And, you go into one of those pubs, you hear that music, you see people start to dance, and all of a sudden, it doesn't even matter what the weather's like outside.
It really is. It is exactly right, and that's what we hope to bring to the Hanover Theatre as well. And coming up on Friday, in actual fact, who can believe that it's St. Patrick's Day already? That's another indication that spring is on the way.
Oh, absolutely. And I just want to fill our listeners in. Brian O'Donovan has been a long-time partner with us here at the Hanover Theatre. We have had his Christmas Celtic Sojourn and the St. Patrick's Day Celtic Sojourn to just enthusiastic, nearly sold out crowds. Geez, has it been all 6 years? I think it has.
It really has, and it's really a special trip for us to make to Worcester. The audiences there are just particularly warm. People told me about that about mid-Massachusetts, that they're just so enthusiastic about the arts there, and that's evidence as well by the success of the Hanover Theatre.
Absolutely.
But when we come there, Lisa, it's just amazing how the warmth and participation, the enthusiasm and eagerness, quite frankly, of the audience for what we present on stage is palpable.
Oh, because, listen, everybody's a little Irish around St. Patrick's Day, but truly there is a huge Irish enthusiast group here in central Massachusetts. But people drive from all over to come to your shows, and boy, you've really experienced a lot of growth, and I think that speaks to what people are looking for. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, I think what you identify is correct. It is growth because people are trusting us to bring the best in Irish traditional music and contemporary music, what we call the roots and branches of music that we present every Saturday afternoon on WGBH. And on stage, it is presented in a particularly lively way and something that really seems to resonate with audiences. Dancers, really great technical musicians, and some crossover musicians as well. This year we're taking a journey to Galicia, for example, which is northern Spain, and this amazing piper from there called Carlos Nunez, who played for many, many years, still does with the Chieftains. We extracted him from the Chieftains, especially to join us for St. Patrick's Day Celtic Sojourn. So it's really going to be a journey, an exploration, and indeed a celebration of many aspects of Irish culture right there on the 14th.
Oh, absolutely. Tell us a little bit more about some of the musicians, and the performers, as you said, near and far.
Well, yes, well, Carlos is going to be a feature for us. He's just an amazing showman. If you can believe it, Lisa, Carlos Nunez fills stadiums and arenas in Europe. He is a rock star there. He's only just making himself known in the U.S., so we're very fortunate to have him as he introduces himself to audiences here, but I'm not expecting that to last long. He will be playing, TD Bank North Garden before, right in downtown, or the Dunkin' Donuts Centre. But he is with us for this edition of a Celtic Sojourn.
That's
He's
awesome.
a showman and an extraordinarily charismatic individual on stage. He's going to also be joined by a group of great traditional musicians who play in a more contemporary style, the Alan Kelly Gang, that's a quartet, and we have a duo of young musicians who are very traditional in that they play very pure drop type music from Donegal. They are playing concertina and fiddle, and they're Kathleen McGowan and Kieran O'Moenig. And then Keith Murphy is a terrific musician as well, and makes his home now in Brattleboro, Vermont, but is originally from Newfoundland, which is also a very Irish area. So exploration is really the theme. We've got some great dancers coming in again from the Harney Academy of Walpole. So it's a big old-fashioned variety show, but top-notch talent on stage.
Oh, absolutely. And, you were listing some of those names, and some of them sound familiar, and some are obviously very new. What are some of the standard things? People come back year after year to see your show, and you always mix it up and add a fresh twist. What are some of the additional fresh twists? I know you talked about the rock star joining, and I'm very excited to hear.
Yeah, he's going to be amazing in that. And the fresh twist is always just a new take on a very rich tradition. Irish traditional music and its more contemporary sides has always been alive. It's never been, people think of traditional folk arts as kind of something dusty and almost archival. But in Ireland, it never died out, so it never needed to go into a dusty drawer in a museum. It was always played in the kitchens and the streets and the crossroads and the pubs of Ireland, and is the case to this day. So the older musicians pass the music on to younger musicians who give it their own flavor, their own interpretation, and it really is a very, very genuine celebration that we have on stage, and I think this year is going to be particularly strong in covering all of those aspects. But there are also, like we do at Christmas, there are also familiar things that we do. For example, we always sing a particular song called The Leaving of Liverpool, which is a rousing chorus song made famous by the Clancy brothers years and years ago, that people can join in with us, and also a song called Will You Go, Lassie Go, and that the audience participates in. So it's, as I said, a good old-fashioned variety show with a lot of familiar pieces and a lot of new explorations as well.
Amazing. And so is there a literature or poetry component to this show as well, or is it mostly music and dance?
It's music, dance, song, and poetry. I'm a particular lover of poetry myself, and I often take some of the writings of the great Irish poets like William Butler Yeats or Patrick Kavanagh, or even snippets from plays to put context to the songs and the tunes. So it is a kind of a weave. It's like a gathering in somebody's house where I play the role of storyteller, if you will, but I'm surrounded by such talent that each word and selection of words is complemented very much by the piece of music or the dance or the song that follows.
And so you've obviously had great success with this whole concept, and you're right, people love it. Can you tell me a little bit about how that all got started? What gave you the idea?
Well, I've been broadcasting on WGBH, fortunate to do so, Lisa,
yes.
for many, many years, 25, 26 years. And the style of program that I present is not designed to be a kind of a flashy, slick program. It's much more designed as an invitational program.
Yes.
That essentially what I call it is opening the walls of my living room to a much bigger audience and inviting people in on Saturday afternoons and me saying, hey, I've got this great piece of music, let me put it on for you.
Right.
So that casual style, a number of years ago, perhaps 10 or more years ago, led me to consider the question, would that work on stage? Would it work for me to go out into the community, go to some of our finest theatres, and bring that same flavor, that same relaxed, casual, informal approach in curating the content that I felt so passionate about, the culture of Ireland? And we started off with low expectations, but found very, very quickly, as you've alluded to, that audiences really loved it. And therefore we just grew and grew and love coming to Worcester. We're 2 days at Sanders Theatre. We've often been down in New Bedford, up in New Hampshire, at Rockport, down in Providence, Rhode Island. So we travel around with this gift that we just love to show people and invite them to participate in.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what, Brian, you're very humble because, of course, you have many fans. And part of this is your name and your program, and people are familiar with your style. But how did you originally tap into the style of, I guess, those original programs where it was more conversational and really a conglomeration of culture? Talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Well, public broadcasting lends itself to that to begin with.
Of course,
and GBH certainly has a reputation for being inspiring and entertaining and educational. And that's really the platform that I arrived into. And I listened a lot, quite frankly. Some of your listeners will remember a wonderful jazz host here called Ray Smith, who goes through the whole history of the jazz decades and does it in this very conversational, relaxed style. He was a jazz musician himself. He passed away a number of years ago, was a jazz musician himself, knew a lot about the music and was very passionate about it, and presented it in this kind of style where, it was like going to dinner at his house, having a beer, and having him bring out his LPs and playing them for you with that level of enthusiasm.
That's
and
always
I modeled
the most
myself largely on that approach, and that's what I've done ever since, and it seems to work. It's a kind of a different, it's homey, and people say it's friendly and invitational, and that's what I like to do.
It absolutely is. Absolutely. So we cannot wait to have you at the Hanover Theatre. Again, information on the show is available at thehanovertheatre.org. Tickets are so reasonably priced. The best seats in the house are under $50. And of course, we do have discounts for our members and Woo card holders and groups. So go check it out. We can't wait to hear more. And everybody, stay tuned. We'll have more behind the scenes. And thank you, Brian, for joining us.
Lisa, thank you very much. Can't wait to see you on Friday at the Hanover Theatre in Worcester.
Me neither.